Welcome to Journey Through the Innerverse. It seems like it's been forever since we've been here. We missed a week last week, just a few things, life things coming up. So sorry to miss you guys, and we didn't have an archive chat in line. So, you just have to move with the organic flow of life's, and, sometimes we have to take a beat and honor what's in our space in real time. So I'm really happy to be here tonight. And Alexis, I was going to ask you how you're doing as always, but you kind of filled me in. But do you want to share? Like, just.
Yeah. So I, as of late, have not been drinking really at all. And so I had a big event. I had one of my favorite shows, season finale, drop this morning at like 3 a.m. I did. I stayed up, and started drinking wine probably around like 10.
Yeah.
And bad idea. Because I drank the whole bottle of wine. Because what happens with me, right? If I put the bottle of wine in the kitchen, I pour myself one glass, and maybe I'll go get another glass. But if I keep the bottle of wine on my um, coffee table, I just keep pouring. Like there's a point where my brain stops thinking that it's alcohol, and I don't know, it just turns off, and then I just keep pouring and I don't pay attention. Well, that happened, and I drank the entire bottle of wine. I watched the season finale. Don't really remember much of it, but I do remember crying like somebody died pretty intensely, and then throwing up all of my wine. And
Oh,
I've been in bed all day. I'm not recovering quickly as I would like to. And I am using all of the energy and strength that I have to just be here. So if I'm like not looking cute and I'm a little off, that's why. Entirely my fault, but I'm here and I'm excited nonetheless.
no, I appreciate that you're here. And also, I would appreciate if you decided to take time for yourself as well. And I totally can relate. I've been there. And, for me, it's always like, I very rarely actually drink out of like wine glasses. I
Hmm.
normally drink, I mean, this is too big. I wouldn't put wine in this. I have like my little small like teacups that I like. And so sometimes I'll just pour and it's like I'm drinking and I'll pour and it's a little bit at a time. So you don't think you're drinking that much. And when
Right.
you're excited and you're anticipating something, you're having a good time, you're like, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, that bottle of wine is gone. Like for me, it's like either right before I go to bed, I realize it, or it'll
Hmm.
be like the next morning and I'll just like look and see that I've drank. I don't know if well, no, I've had a whole bottle of wine to myself. And yeah, it's not fun, especially like if you're not drinking a lot of water and like, and you
Yeah.
have
I
too
mean,
much. Yes. So
yeah.
wine is not fun in that regard. So we will make this chat tonight easy and we'll just flow. It's a nice, easy chat where this is our Dark Moon Dream Reflections, our monthly chat, in which we just share how our dream space has been over the past lunar cycle. So this specific chat is centered around our dream space between April 17th, I believe I said, and
Yes.
well, now as we're sharing here is May 13th, but the lunar cycle officially ends May 16th. So we have a Taurus moon on May 16th. So happy new moon for those of you listening later around that time. Yeah, so we'll share our dream space, the energy that we're feeling, and also we'll pull an oracle card as we always do, just to get some insight of this lunar cycle. And we have two people here. We have Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for being here. Mary's here, and Mary says, "I hope you feel better, Alexis." So thanks,
Thank you so
Mary.
much.
Here.
I also hope I feel better soon.
Right. And I hope that you get a lot of the energy and the good vibes that always fill this space when we are here live together talking about dreams.
Yeah,
Um,
I have no doubt that'll happen. I'm
yeah,
like, all right, well, I'm forcing myself to be up. I'm drinking tea. I'm focused. Like, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And
We've
then you
all had a
still
hangover
crash,
before.
continue to crash, like
Yes,
sleep
exactly.
after. It's like just enough energy generated for our conversation.
Right.
So with that said, I do want to speak to the energy that I'm feeling right now. And I'll be honest, I think with the Aries new moon energy, that lunar cycle, it's like hard. There's so much that has happened that it's hard for me to recall. And speaking of that, sorry, my cat is Wednesdays at the making it hard for me to listen. So it's hard for me to recall exactly what was coming up. I know there was a focus on like a boundary, a wall, dissolving, because I know that at that time, um, yeah, there was so much going on in Aries. There was a whole lineup, and everything was kind of like sandwiched between Neptune and Saturn. And I remember the contrast that, was present as far as Neptune making everything confusing and blurry, and Saturn wanting to make things tangible and just realistic and bringing it down to earth and kind of making sense and order of everything. And I felt like, depending on how you played your cards, you like basically a boundary or a limitation would dissolve. And so I definitely feel my dream space was helping me out a lot with that. Like I was having some really interesting dreams around um like my work, which makes sense because for me and for you, since we're both Scorpio risings, the Aries part of our chart was centered around like our daily routines, our organization, our work grind, like the little things that we do every day, that help us to reach our goals, but also that, influence our health and wellness, right? And so that's something that I saw that reflected in my dream space. And as we get closer to this Taurus new moon, what's been coming through is the significance of restoring our root chakra, like really restoring our own sense of safety and personal security, our sense of worth. And these are things that we talk about all the time. But I think that with the experience of like that Aries, I guess you could say, activation, like it's like there's a rawness, there's a vulnerability, there's just, especially with Uranus moving out of Taurus also now, right? So Uranus is in Gemini. So it's like the Taurus part of our chart has been quote unquote liberated. But when you go through a process of deconstruction and really kind of like even digging in the roots and pulling things up, if we're thinking about Taurus and that tangible aspect, there is like, there's a lot there to like, that has to be reconstructed, right? And you can feel vulnerable, right? And so I can see that's kind of where we might be with this Taurus new moon, is like really tending to our roots, tending to our body, um, evaluating just like our sense of security and worth. And as a collective, and I know this has been showing up in the dream space, like even if you're not someone who reads the news or watches the news, and you want to like disassociate from that, like you still feel it in your space energetically. It shows up in dreams. Like there have been a few times collectively where we've had very stressful, anxious dreams where we're being chased, or like there's some like kind of, intense, almost like violent and threatening energy about the dream or experience. And so it's
Right.
like I sense with the Taurus new moon, there's a focus on like our own nourishment, our own sense of security, and like really tending to the roots. And so I am definitely inviting in the guidance through my dream space with that. And there's a little bit more I want to add on that, but do you have anything that you want to share? So I don't want to.
No, I think you're covering it perfectly. I mean, I've been experiencing the same thing. I'm feeling those shifts, and it is definitely showing up in my dream space and the dream space of others. So continue.
Yeah. And so I'm like, what was I? What was I to say with the new moon? But yeah, okay, so I guess I totally lost what I was gonna say, but essentially, I mean, couple that the new moon in Taurus, right? So we're starting a lunar cycle, soon to start this new lunar cycle, but then we're soon to start a solar cycle in Gemini,
Hmm.
where Uranus is already there, right? So I get this feeling, and I can already see it within myself and within my external environment of like our nervous system kind of like our nervous system is shifting in many ways, like it's shifting because of the changes in the frequency of the planet, of like the different communities we're in, like it's shifting in a very expansive and beautiful way. But then also there, that leaves us to feeling a little bit insecure and vulnerable, because it's like we're stepping into new territory or we're breaking down the old. And even though that wasn't aligned or isn't aligned anymore, it still is what we know.
Right.
So we're stepping into this territory of like the unknown, and we're rebuilding and restructuring our foundation, our root system. And so like naturally that's going to have an impact on our nervous system. And so I think one of the things too, and now I'm remembering what I was going to say about Taurus, but one of the things with like Gemini season is that nervous system, right? And just having to stabilize that. So that's what's coming through. And I can see that um, in our dream space. So with that in mind, it's important to make a little bit more, like be a more intentional with um our sleeping, right? Like so taking the necessary, drinking the necessary teas, taking supplements, whatever's supportive, and being flexible with that, you know, just being in the moment, as Gemini is a flexible energy. But what I was going to say about coming back to Taurus is that the moon in Taurus is considered to be exalted, meaning that it is at its highest expression in Taurus. So it can move through all the moods, all the emotions, as Taurus is the most grounded archetype, the most grounded sign, and it's solid, and it is the safe space. And so I think also leaning into that as well will be really helpful as we move through the cycle. So that support, that possibility, that frequency is already there for us to be held and be supported. And it's like now we're kind of shifting our perspective in our mind to be in alignment with that, that knowing that we can trust in ourselves, we can trust in life, and we are safe and secure.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And I love Taurus. Like, I love Taurus energy. I love Taurus season. I do feel like it is a soft grounding. It doesn't feel like intense to me. Like when it comes to the Taurus energy, it feels very like we're going to focus on your stability and your support, but it's going to be like a softness rather than,
Yeah.
maybe some other um uh earth planets or earth signs like Capricorn or even Virgo. Virgo and Capricorn feel very intense when you're moving through them. But with Taurus,
Yeah.
it's just so soft and like you're laying down on like a field of like moss, and it's just like, okay,
Ooh, yeah.
where are we going from here? What needs acknowledgement? What needs restructure? What am I holding on to that is no longer serving me, that is a part of my foundation? And how will that like amplify what's new? And how your new way of being in foundation is going to allow you to make choices and decisions and have new doors open and new paths be available to you. And yeah, I love this time of the year. Despite the intensity and the chaos of everything that has been going on, there is just this soft grounding that I desperately need.
Yeah. And one of the things you and I have talked about too, with Taurus and the moon in Taurus, or even like Taurus type themes of the dream, there is that more, um, there's that experience of sensuality, of sensory experiences. Like when you mention like laying in the moss or the softness of moss, I think I saw on Instagram, it was like someone, it was like a video, a reel or a meme where someone was like, oh, when I'm saying I'm busy, this is what I'm doing. And they were like in the middle of this, like what seemed to be like northern Pacific like forest where there's like moss everywhere. And it's like a giant fairy garden basically. And they were
Yeah.
like pressing down on the moss and laying on it. And it was really, really nice. And that's when you said that, it made me think about that. And you know, we may have those dream experiences. That's something that you can definitely invite in. You know, that's something that you can even do as far as like a meditation or like an active imagine, what is it, active imagination. So
Mhm.
maybe, you can kind of focus on that in your waking space, and then see if that will reflect in your dreaming space. Um, but it's the ability to, yeah, like move through the emotions, but be supported in like that gentle, almost like feminine goddess type way, which makes sense as Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And a couple days later, literally 2 days later, after the new moon, Venus moves into Cancer. So it's like, and Venus will move through Cancer for about a month. And so we have this lunar cycle in Taurus, and we have the ruler of the sign and Cancer of the mother. And so like that softness is amplified, and that just that nurture and the care and the slowness and being able to move through the emotions, being able to like really, become more intimate with yourself. One of the things that I was feeling into as well is just like, connecting more to your body, feeling embodied. And I know it's interesting, like as we talk about dreams, that's something where in a sense like you're slipping out of the body. And so it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic is, like if we feel more grounded in our dreams, if our dreams help us feel more grounded, or if we're navigating that kind of polarity of like being disembodied versus being embodied, and like being immersed in the dream space, but how well are we grounded in the waking space, and can we really embrace both experiences, which of course, yes.
Right.
So that's something that I'm really leaning into for Taurus season or Taurus lunar cycle.
Right. Well, and it's really interesting too because when you say this like meme that you saw, it was like, sorry, I'm busy, and what you're busy doing is being in the forest. I feel like that it's in itself is a representation of that, like choosing to not overload yourself with things that, might not be helping you, but more so hindering you if you attend them or you spend time with these people or you go to these events or you do X, Y, and Z. Now might be that time to really hone in on saying no when it doesn't feel right in your body to say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like slowing down. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big thing. And that's something we always talk about when it comes to dreams, and dream work, is the slower you are in your awaking space, the more connected I feel like you become with your dream space. If like, especially if you're intentional and like you want to do the dream work, you want to connect with this inner aspect of you. It's like as the dreaming space and the waking space are basically reflections, it's like naturally when you're super busy, it's hard to really like focus on the dreams, or like there might be so much going on in the dreams, or there might be stress relieving dreams,
Mm-hmm.
or you just don't remember your dreams and you're in a deep sleep, hopefully. That's reflected in that way. But once you're able to kind of slow down your waking space, then you can be more grounded essentially, and aware and present with the dreaming space. So that's something that, hopefully we can all experience too, is like a little bit of slowing down and more presence in that way.
Oh, I hope so.
So Mary, you have a moon in Taurus. And so the moon, we're not in that moon cycle yet, but I definitely would love to hear um how your dream space is going to be, how your dream space unfolds this lunar cycle. So feel free to share with me. You did share here in the chat that your deceased father's energy came into one of your dreams, and your old car not being found. And when you went to reclaim it with the second driver, it vanished. Um, and you went for it, and your dad was laughing at you. And then you says 1 minute the car was there, and then as I went around the block to come to it, it was gone. Both old car and dad dissolved. So that's
Hmm.
pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, when you think about the car, and I mean, as a lot of that listen to the podcast or know me, the car symbol is major in my dream
Mm-hmm.
space. And so the car essentially is like a representation of you, like, or it could be like either you as like your physical body, like your vehicle, or how you navigate your life, right? And your journey. essentially. And so it's like one of the things that comes forth as far as like your dad laughing at you one minute it's here and it's not there. um to me that kind of feels like, well, just what came to mind is like not taking life so seriously, maybe not taking the
Yeah.
journey so seriously. Especially it's like, because it's like one minute you can have this thing and then the next minute it's gone, whether it's someone in your life or just life in general is like, here is, comes and goes, or life is short is what they say. And so it's like, let's just have fun, let's play a game. And so I kind of felt like, just when I thought about it, that was the first thing that came to mind, was like, oh, okay, like it seems like it's kind of a game, especially if he's laughing. And so yeah, I'd be curious to know how you felt in the dream space during that interaction, because that'll definitely give you some deeper insight just of what is being reflected to you. um and as an outside perspective, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that's just like having fun with the journey. And it's like, maybe you don't even need like whatever this old car represents to you or what it did when you had it. Maybe there's something there that you still feel that you need, and the dream and your father is showing you that you don't really need it,
Mm-hmm.
and just to have fun and play on the journey.
That's exactly what I got too. I felt that almost that like jester energy coming through. Like life isn't, you don't have to take life that seriously. Like life is going to have its serious moments, but we
Mhm.
can't live life only in a serious mode, because you miss out on all of these other prospects of existence that make life fun. It's fun is very important.
Yeah. So speaking of shared dreams, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, sure. So I had this dream on May 4th. Um, okay. Last night I woke up on a stone bridge. Ahead of me was a very tall building. It was, oh my goodness. Sometimes I swear. Da, 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 da. I'm just gonna say it from memory because it's easier.
Yeah,
So I
sometimes.
woke up, it just like sometimes reading my handwriting, I'm like, it's just better if I do it by memory.
Yeah.
So I woke up in on this bridge, and it was stone bridge, and it was kind of like a bridge slash dock. So at the end of the bridge, it was this building, and it was drizzling out. It was like not quite. I don't want to say it's cold. It wasn't really cold, but it was cloudy, and the clouds were resting down around the building, like you couldn't see far beyond that. Um, and it was a lot of this gray void that was there rather than like actual content. Immediately, I was aware that not only was I dreaming, but I was in not a second part of the dream, but I was in a dream that I had before. And it was very clear. Like, I was like, I've had this dream before. I know what to do. This is crazy. But I didn't feel a sense of fear and anxiety the way that I felt the first time I had this dream. So I knew immediately that this was like a game. So essentially, I'm locked in the game until I get to the 60th floor of the building. And the way you move through the build, like each building is essentially, or each level of the building is a level of the game you have to get through. And I remember in this other dream, it was horrifying. I was scared because you're being hunted and chased
Mm-hmm.
by this essence. And in the original dream that I had, the essence was able to do more damage. It was able to terrify me and wake me up in like a cold sweat. But in this dream, I knew what I had to do. And I went in and I started moving through the levels with this awareness that I had more control and ability than I did before. I had the presence and the essence of my sister and my husband, and they kind of kept like materializing and then like becoming essence again. Like they weren't grounded in their physical form within the dream space. And when I think one of the biggest differences between the dream that I had on May 4th and the previous dream is that this building's aesthetic was like a lived in house. But think of like almost like Stranger Things where you have the upside down.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a parallel of the universe that the houses were in. So like it was lived in, but it was stripped of all of its color and there was nobody actually there. And so I could feel the presence coming and I like hid behind some laundry. And when the presence passed, I ran up the stairs to the next level. And like you can kind of feel the presence getting a little more not angry, but just like the intensity riled up a little bit. Um, and so I'm moving through the first few floors because it's easier because it's the first few floors. And then I finally get to this one floor where the presence is actually about to get me. Like I'm standing there and the presence is right in front of me about to get me. And I have this drawing of a teddy bear conjure up next to me. And it's just kind of like floating next to my head. And I connect that to the present, like I materialize it. And the energy, the essence is gone. And there's just a teddy bear kind of like sitting on the floor where the essence, where the like entity was located.
Huh.
And so I felt really good about that. I felt really confident. It felt right. And I just ran up the stairs and started to continue my endeavor. And I made it to about the sixth or seventh floor. And at this point, the presence had, and also the floors were like almost the same exact setup, but only one thing was like one or two things were really shifted in the presentation. Um, so I get up to this level and I'm the essence is coming to get me and I go into this bathroom and it's a long bathroom with two doors. So I go in through the one door through the side and then at the end of the bathroom on the other side is another door. So I lock that door and I'm like listening to the present, like I don't know, kind of just trying to gauge where the presence is with my ear against the door and I wake up. And I just thought this was such an interesting dream. And mind you, like I'm remembering as I'm moving through these levels, I'm remembering the last dream. And like, I'm remembering in the dream that the setup of this building felt very old in the previous dream. Like it was like the art, the design and architecture of these houses were like from like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and it felt old and it felt dusty. And but this one, it was like a lived in experience of modern day, just like a parallel universe of what it actually was. So I just thought that was really interesting.
Wow. That was really interesting. And I'm like, so there's a few things that's coming up. Firstly, when you mentioned, so of that, the building, was it 60 floors
Mm-hmm.
okay, but you only made it to what you said, like six or seven?
Yeah. Hold on
Okay.
one second. Well, continue.
Okay. Um, so I'm curious, like, what relevant 60 means, like, because that's like, for me, that's kind of very specific. So I'm wondering, okay, like, why the number 60? And, you can simplify that if you desire to the number six, or I mean, even when you said like, oh, you were on the sixth or seventh floor. So I feel like that in itself is in between, right? And like just thinking again, coming back to that number six. So I would, if this were my dream, as Dreamigo says, I would um take into account what the number six means, especially going from six to seven. And if that like stands out to you in reference to your waking life. I don't know what your life path number is, but I mean, I could definitely calculate that. Maybe there's some relevance with that. But I definitely felt like listening to your dream that like the building, it just really kind of seemed to me that it corresponded to your life path in a way, like, or when we think about Carl Jung's um like perspective of a house in some ways can represent your psyche and the different rooms or different aspects of your psyche, and paying attention to like the nature within the different rooms, how they feel. Are some feeling scary, or some feeling like comfortable and cozy or whatever. And that can give you a lot of like deeper insight to certain parts of your psyche and what that could mean based on the house. And so the fact that this was a building, and you were moving through the different levels, and it was almost like a game. Like, to me, it just really feels like it's kind of um speaking to the game of life, which is funny because we literally started the dream share with Mary's comments, and that kind of came through. So I almost feel like that's kind of a theme here. And even the dream that I'm going to share has a little bit of that too, where it's like, okay, like, let me rearrange, let me change some things, almost like if you were playing a game, like, let me start over and try this thing, or maybe I should walk into this floor, or I have to like navigate this boss on this particular level, or the challenge on this level before I can go to the next one. And when you mention there was like this essence or this entity that was, it was off. It was, I don't know if you said scary, but it's like that's, and having the teddy bear, I don't know, that's really interesting, because it's like that's one of the things too that I've learned. When it comes to scary things in your dreams, you can kind of like get playful with it, basically, or like confronting it in some way, but being playful is a way to kind of soften the energy and kind of like unmask whatever that can be. And so when you mentioned how you were able to like visualize that and to have it like manifest as something physical, and it basically diminish whatever that entity was, and then you were able to, I believe you said, move on. I think it's giving you, like, your psyche is kind of giving you um kind of like a perspective of your path at this point, or how that can unfold. So that's kind of what came forth in my perspective. Are you there, Alexis? So I hope Alexis is okay. I know she's hasn't been feeling well. So for those of you watching, if you want to ask any questions, share any dreams in the chat, feel free. I'm going to give her a little bit of time because I am going to share my dream next, but I also want her to hear the dream. So anything coming up for you guys? How's your dream space been? Thank you, Mary, for sharing. Anyone present at the time, I would love to hear. Like I said, my dream space has been, there's been so much focus on like work and the structure of my work, which has been great. But it's been a recurring theme of restaurants. So yeah, it's been a whole thing. Hi, welcome back.
Hi.
You okay?
Yes, sorry, I
Okay.
had to step away for a second, but
No, that's totally fine. I was just saying, so you probably missed all of that breakdown. And I will give it in a nutshell because I don't want other people
I
to.
can rewatch it
You
too.
can rewatch it and I can edit it, so it's totally fine. But basically, I was saying that what I'll do like the major things that stood out to me. One of the things I was like, does the number 6 mean anything to you? Like 66, that's something, because I was like, that's really specific.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, because I'm like, and after this we can maybe, do you know your life path number?
I don't.
Okay, so I'll do that later and then I'll share. Like maybe there's something there, but basically I was saying like that number stood out to me, especially because you said there were 60 levels, but you only got to 6 or 7, which like to me that felt kind of like being in the in between, right?
Right.
Of like, and if we simplify, if you think about numerology, you simplify it to like 6 or 7. I mean, you simplify 60 to 6, right? Is where I'm going with that.
Right.
So the number 6 is interesting. Also, I was saying that I felt that the building, especially since you mentioned that it was like a game, or had kind of that vibe, to me it felt like kind of this overview of like your path. Like the building can represent like your life path and the different like you know how with a game it's like you have to like, you know, overcome a challenge or fight a boss or whatever. And that's kind of how it felt to me.
Yeah.
And like the different levels can, you know, give you insight of to the different, you know, aspects of the life or the different challenges as you're ascending or evolving and becoming more of who you're meant to be, right?
Right.
And I mentioned how that was kind of it kind of built off of Carl Jung's like perspective of the house and how the house can represent our psyche. And I was like, I feel like this building more so represents your path, right? So
Right.
it's kind of that aspect of a journey. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting synchronicity that we started out talking about, you know, this game and having fun with the life experience. And
Right.
so yeah. So I'll share with you later too on that.
Well, and I find this interesting because again, I remember in the original dream that I had based on this, um, again, it was horrifying. Like I really felt like I was gonna die. Like, it was horrifying. And I remember the point in which I woke up the last time I had that dream was I opened a door and it was stairs downstairs, but it was like think of like The Conjuring, right? I don't know if you guys
Gosh.
have seen that, but like when they find the stairs and
Yes.
it's in that closet, that's what it felt like. So you had this warm bulb lamp
Yeah.
or like light from the ceiling and like wood panel walls, and you knew that it was stairs downstairs, but there was no, you didn't see the stairs. It was basically void. And that's where I woke up because I essentially was chased to somewhat of a dead end where I either, am I get harmed or killed or whatever by staying on the door or I risk falling, jumping, whatever, and there being nothing there to actually support me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I woke up in the last dream. But this dream, it was just like I was anticipating this presence, but it wasn't horrifying and I didn't feel like I was going to die. It did feel more like I was locked into to confidence in the
Yeah.
game, and like again, because I only made it to the 6th level, it makes me think too. I'm like, okay, well, the rules of the game is I'm not, like, I'm essentially locked into the game now until I reach the 60th floor. So it makes me think, well, am I going to have this dream again? And am I going to ascend further? And is this going to
Wow.
be a continuous dream for me? So it's very interesting. And I feel like it could be an aspect of the psyche and my path, like at the same time, because there's, especially when I think about the comparison between this dream and the last dream, it feels like I'm, I've unlocked more in myself mentally and emotionally, and I'm able to move through things with myself a little easier and it's a little less scary. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was a very interesting dream to have. Again.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And I really honestly, I think that this is a theme, which is like this like life almost is like a game in a sense. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like how much like what's coming to mind, and this is just based off like what I'm going to share as far as my dream, but it's like how much of life is like free will and how much of it is like destiny or like what like we're if we come here for a purpose, like what happens if we don't like achieve the purpose before we like, you know, rest and, you know, or wake up, as they say, like where this is like technically the dream and then we wake up into like our real reality or however
Right.
you look at it. It's like, so what happens if we don't complete the mission, the purpose? And it's like how much free will do we have and the choices that we make. And one of the things I mentioned about your dream too is that I love that you had to, you know, like when you had to face this entity, you conjured up something that was playful, something that was like connected to a child. And that's been one of the things that, you know, I've heard as far as like working with nightmares or like anything in your dream is like confronting the monster or like whatever it is, like a person, but whatever is creating that fear, confronting it, like doing something, saying something silly, doing something silly, but just being playful to kind of
Right.
diminish the intensity of that. And so that's what happened essentially. Like you conjured up this, you visualized a bear, and then it materialized, and the entity basically dissolved, or that was
Right.
like released. So like that in itself can be a lesson too, again coming back to not taking life so seriously and being able to um yeah, just kind of like see the light, or try to find the light in the situation, which will help to transmute that energy, to alchemize that energy of like what's really heavy, what's really intense.
Right. I agree with that 100%. And another point to pull out that I just thought of while we were sitting here and I was listening to you was, this entity never actually is showing itself. I never see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the energy around it.
Yeah.
And what it makes me think too is that this might be a representation of my fear of the unknown, and how, as I'm working and moving towards facing my fears and, dealing with one thing or the next, I'm realizing that my fears of the unknown are diminishing. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that could be a parallel to some of the things coming through as well. But I agree with that 100%, because it is like the dream was a nightmare. And in the nightmare previous, like when I had the first dream, it stayed a nightmare. I didn't feel like I had control. But in this one, I knew that it was a nightmare, and I shifted and changed it completely. And it it brings comfort to me to know that I am improving and seeing change. Even
Mm-hmm.
if, like, when you're seeing change in your dream space, it makes just as much of a difference as when you see change in your waking space.
Yeah, that you're doing something right, or I mean, are we ever doing anything wrong? But it's like it, and that's why it's so beautiful to see, to witness how it is reflected, like you can
Right.
catch those changes, and it's like we're gonna wax and wane with it. Like we're gonna have like up days and down days, and the dream space is gonna reflect that, and it's totally okay. Like it is what it is. um so I'll go
Right.
ahead and share my dream. I had this dream April 25th. And I actually remember this was like the day before um the dream class I was teaching recently, which was overcoming nightmares and anxious dreams. And
On
this was
theme.
right. Like this was, as always, this is definitely like an anxious, stressful dream. And so basically, I was driving and I turned left on a road. There were a few cars at the red light just a bit ahead. As I turned and drive on that road, I remember it was a left turn. So I made a left turn on that road. I suddenly noticed there's a dark spot that looks like oil. So I tried to avoid it, but it didn't matter. My car started to lose control. I tried not to hit other cars. I was successful. However, I did notice that the cars that got closer to the red traffic light began to vanish in their car. They would, like the people in the car.
Mhm.
So they were just popping out. So they turned grayish white and vanish. And they had this look of horror on their face while in the process of that. I somehow avoided all of that and ended up at a house in neighborhood that feels familiar. So it was kind of like I saw all of that, and then boom, I'm at this house
Okay.
in a neighborhood that feels familiar. I felt that I'm back where I started. I decided to leave the car and walk in what felt to be the opposite direction of where I was heading with the car. Um, there was a man that shouted out from the top window of the house to me, "Happy birthday." I remember laying on the ground with my arms and legs spread wide like a child. I felt peace in that moment. I was fully lucid at this point in the dream. I kept walking, and behind I was behind the houses. There was the street and a small field of grass. It was still part of the neighborhood. I didn't really know what to do except to be incredibly present with the environment. It began to rain, and I was so present with it. I watched it slowly fall from the sky and fall through my fingers. It was as if it was in slow motion. And it was so funny. I never look at my hands in dreams. And I, like, when I was looking at my hands in the dream, just really connecting with the rain, Oh my God, my hands did look so distorted. It was so freaky. And it was like kind of distracting because I was like trying to be in the moment with the rain, but I was just like, oh my God, that looks so gross. Um, but anyway, then there was a bird that flew around me. I let it land on my finger and it tickled when it touched me. The bird's energy was very playful. She flew around me and I guided her to land on my shoulder. She did, and it tickled so much I could hardly stand still. I'm not sure if this was later in the dream or a different dream, but at some point I was in a grass field. All was well, and then all of a sudden I heard a stampede coming. Myself and a few others that were in this grass field that was essentially a nature park all tried to hide behind trees, and then I woke up. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, it's so funny because first of all, the playfulness is very
It's a theme.
there. But on top of that, like I feel like that first part of the dream, it was like it was a representation of you being able to maintain control despite chaos ensuing. Maybe that's a reflection of your waking space or what it may be, but like it's like when things are out of your control, you're able to navigate it in a way that is essentially like with grace and like I don't know, it felt like having no control of your car and still being able to avoid crashing and kind of still getting to your destination. I just feel like that.
Well, I don't think I never made it to the destination. It was almost like
Well, not like the intended destination, but just like
right, yeah,
out of the
somewhere else, yeah,
street
out
and
of that
just to.
situation. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And just gaining your lucidity, like it's like you managed this really stressful moment and then you were able to just be present. And I feel like that is something that is really important when you're in your waking space too, like because there's so many things that you can't control that will come into your life path and you have to navigate it to the best of your ability. And I love too that the guy screen like said happy birthday to you,
yeah,
because
sure.
to me that it feels like it felt like you were tapping into your inner child, especially with like the bird and like that playful energy from the bird and kind of like being tickled and like laying in the grass. It's not
Yeah,
subject to children only, laying in the grass, but I
yeah,
feel like they're, I don't know, some people are more like, as an adult to do it.
yeah,
But the aspect of the happy birthday, I mean, your birthday as a kid, I don't know if this is a universal experience, but it seems that at least in America, your birthday is like one of the best days of your
yeah.
life every year. You
It's,
look
yeah,
forward
it's
to it
really
every year. It's like Christmas, but only about you. And
good.
and I feel like, there's something to be said about that aspect too. It's like your birthday is solely about you. The focus is on you. So how, this man says this and you kind of like you're in lucidity and you're honing into the sensory and the feelings and everything around it and just kind of like existing in this space that you're conjuring to be in slow motion essentially to really really be present. And it sounds like a very beautiful dream. Like it sounds like the experience outside of the like the first part.
Yeah.
It
And
sounds
the
like,
last part with the stampede,
well,
that
yes.
was really random. I can't remember if that was um the same dream, but I know it was like in the same time period. So it could have been
Right.
like that dream ended in because it was like I kind of remember, or maybe I lost lucidity at some point because I remember I was definitely lucid in that part too. But like
Maybe you tapped into the
that's
collective
funny.
conscious at the end of your
Yeah.
dream and like where that chaotic, like intense
Right.
energy.
It's like it's coming in. Like it was always like generally the peacefulness was with myself and
Hmm.
like nature, but it's like whenever there was like chaos, there was other people there. So that I think
Right.
like that's just funny to me that that's coming through. But yeah, no, it was really I can't really remember specifically what was coming up, but like I know that that part being in the rain and with the bird, it really felt like the Nine of Pentacles tarot card to me, which in that card, the traditional Rider Waite Smith, it's a woman out in her garden. She has like the nine pentacles surrounding her. There's like these like fully ripened grapes. He has like this bird on her shoulder that like is veiled, but it's like it definitely feels like a spirit familiar, like it definitely feels more
Hmm.
spirit energy. And I've been really like, I still have that. The card is on my altar, and it's been on my altar for probably almost a year now. And it's like one of my favorite cards. And that's like what I really want to strive to become, because it's presence, it's abundance, it's connection with nature, it's being in your essence, being in your own energy, being independent and free. And so I did like, in reflection, when I tuned into that moment of the dream, I was like, ah, yes, like that is what I'm going towards. Um, and I think like I had shared this with Jackie, and she mentioned too, like the difference of like choosing to walk versus like being in a car. Cause it's like when you're a car, like of course you're moving, but you're moving faster and like things are flying by, and it's not as present as when you're taking a walk like in the
Right.
neighborhood or like in nature, like, especially if you don't have any phone or anything like that, like you're soaking it all in.
Right.
And so I definitely felt like the major message with that reading dream was presence and like slowing down. So
Absolutely.
um,
And it's so funny because I think about this all the time. Like, cars are essentially time machines.
yeah.
They're just not going as fast as other ideas of time machines, but like they are time machines. I mean, what would take you, 5 days to walk would take you, several hours, but you'd get there. And it's there's something to be said about how when you are driving in a car, you have to have your focus on getting to where you need to be, and it does take away from being present
You
with
can't just like,
with
yeah.
everything around you.
Right.
I mean, don't get
Feel
me
the same
wrong.
way.
I definitely get distracted, and
Yeah.
I'm very much a person who doesn't use my phone when I drive. Like,
Yeah.
I'm hoping most people do. Like, a lot of people use their phones when they drive, but my distraction
Yeah.
just being me. I'm always like looking at
Oh
this
yeah. Well,
bird,
then they say
looking at these
also
things.
like driving can kind of like put you in a meditative state in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely happens to me. Like I can definitely zone out, especially if I'm like not even driving. If I'm the one riding, I can definitely
Right.
zone out. So I can even see like being in a car being like a time machine like that too. Because
Right.
depending on where we are, like it's really fun to like, I'm having memories of like driving in certain parts of Colorado and just like, well, I'm not the one driving, but generally, if other people are driving, I'm just like you can really go on adventures. And it makes me think of when we were children and we didn't have like phones and stuff. And
Yeah.
that was like what you do. You just stare out the window, and I would have all these different like stories and fantasies. And so,
Right. Right. Or it's like raining and you're sitting in the back seat in your mom or dad's car and you have your head up against the window and you feel like
oh,
you're in a
yeah.
movie because
Yeah.
like some sad song comes on the radio and
Right.
you're just
Oh, the
like,
music too. If the music's right, you can really have a
mm-hmm.
whole like,
And I feel like the radio stations back then too were like they put so much energy into making the experience like
yeah.
enjoyable. So you would have like if you were driving at night, you would have like a nighttime
Oh, yeah. No, you have like, yeah.
radio state. Like someone would be there and they'd be like, there was this one that I can't remember what it was, but it was like they would talk to you in like a really like calming voice and like tell you a story and put
I
on music
love
and
that.
like they don't
Yes.
they don't really do that
No,
anymore, at least that
do it anymore.
I don't really listen to the radio too often, but when I do it's like
Or there are like these obscure radio stations that like that's their thing.
yeah,
And
like
like
a like
have
a
a
like a
following for that.
college like a college
Right. Yeah.
town radio
Like
station
in
or
some like
something.
small town or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But oh
Yep.
my gosh. Ah, so nostalgic.
I
Oh.
know.
Alrighty. Well, I think that was amazing. I think this is a good time to pull some cards
I agree.
for like what we need to know at this time for the I know the reading last Dark Moon Dream Reflection was so good.
Oh, it was.
Which was funny because it was a really intense moon cycle. So we'll see what we
It
get.
was. I have a feeling that this is gonna be a this is gonna be a lighter,
Yeah.
just a little lighter. That was a little
With
intense. Oh my God.
Moon and Taurus.
Slow down and reflect.
Ooh, with the moth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Transformation happening. I love that.
It's
Okay.
number one in the deck. It's autumn, and it's slow down and reflect. And I'll
Mhm.
just pull this up right now and
It's my favorite season.
All right, slow down and reflect. Autumn reminds us to embrace transformation and death. Leaves turn red and gold, take off to dance with the wind, and eventually wilt on the ground, becoming one with the earth yet again. As the world cools down and trees soften into their slumber until springtime, we are craving warmth and comfort. This is a time of transition, and it's important to remember that all that grounds us is in the present.
Mm.
Ask yourself, what chapter of life do I need to let go for this season, for the greater good? And where can I find comfort in the transition period? And I feel like even though this is an autumn card, this speaks so much to what we were just saying about Taurus season
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what transition we're all in right now. And we
And I
really do
love,
need to be
yeah.
present. And like, I mean, it literally said that it all is grounded in the present. So,
Yeah. Well, it was funny too, as you were saying that, like right before you said that, like I had to, one of my things that literally came to my awareness today as I was like making notes for like this new moon and the whole grounding aspect. And it's so hard for me to like sit in this chair with like both feet on the ground. Like
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
sitting,
yeah.
like my legs crossed, or I have like one cross, like just one foot on the ground. It's so uncomfortable to have both feet. It's just awkward. And so like it's not even like my foot is like wanting to, like it's not fully planted.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's symbolic for me right now. And so literally as you started reading the oracle, I like put both of my feet on the ground.
I have to
And
do
so
that. I
yeah,
always sit on my one foot and like my other foot kind of like wraps around the chair so it doesn't even sit
so
on the
you're not even
ground.
like, yeah. And you and I mean, we have no problems being in the astral and just like
Right.
our avatars here, but
Yes, exactly.
we're not home.
Exactly.
So it's like the grounding part is very important.
Necessary.
All right, so my oracle is ancient amulets.
Ooh,
And we have fortune, protection, um, skills, and possession. So this definitely feels like
very
Taurus.
much.
Really pretty.
That is a beautiful card.
In the yeah. Yes. So let's see the interpretation, the guidance here. Wow, did you hear that?
I didn't.
Oh, okay. Wednesday, she did a whole like stretch, and it was like her nails went along the door, and then she's like, hey, can you wait like just a couple more minutes? I don't want to get up. Okay. Own your authority and wear the badge of your magic loud and proud. Do not forgo protection and do not rush into anything that needs no urgency. Be patient and draw your power symbols to protect and energize your home, your spirit, and your body. Magical power rises from your fingertips to transform all your work on into powerful fruition. Your ability to weave love into your vocation is a gift from the gods. The answer lies in the lines of your palms. Wow. Okay, so
Even the hands, like you talking about your hands in the dreams and looking at them,
yeah,
whatnot. These cards, it's so funny how every time we pull these cards, it really is so on point with what we're experiencing right now.
seriously. And it's like really interesting. I feel like this is like also a little message. One, I'll say, if you're like me and you haven't cleansed your home yet, this is also like, let's go ahead and cleanse and
Yes.
protect. Like I've needed to
Yeah.
do that because, like I said, this time of year, there's like a threshold within like my psyche or whatever, but I feel like any of my shadows are kind of projected out. And so I need to just clear the energy. So I like how it said protect your home, draw some symbols. And I used to draw um like sigils, like protective
Hmm.
sigils, or like draw like write mantras on my front door, like in
Well,
Colorado.
maybe you
I
should
don't,
do that.
yeah, I'm gonna do like a little, I'm not gonna do it as big because I had it like our whole door, like we had the Eye of Horus and everything, and it was a really
Right.
big home.
Or
So
you
I'm,
can do it in oil or water. Like
yeah,
do the on the door so it's
and
not
I'll
even
do like the little
visual.
corners, do like different
Yeah.
perspective, like a pentagram and
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's exciting. So yeah, energize your home and your spirit and your body. And so like I feel again, this is like it feels like connecting to the body too. And like
Hmm.
I said, being present, take your time. If nothing's urgent, you'll get to it when you get to it, which is I feel like Taurus energy is like Girl, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like,
Yes,
I'm doing my thing.
100%.
All right. Well, this was really nice. I enjoyed this. Thank you everyone for participating. Thanks for being here. If you like our chat tonight, please like the video, or whenever you watch it, please like the video. Please subscribe. We're so close to 100 subscribers here on our channel. We have like 11 more to go.
Oh my
So
goodness.
subscribe if you enjoy. And yeah, we'll be here next week with another chat on tarot and dreams, and we're going to be talking about the emperor, so that'll be really interesting. Alrighty, so thanks everyone. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.